Hello, welcome to Storytime with Jenn. Today we're going to be reading The Bremen Town Musicians from the fairy tales of the Brothers Grimm. This tale is a heartwarming comedy of error starring a lovable motley crew of farm animals. Maltreated by their owners and considered too old to be useful, a donkey, dog, cat, and rooster hatch a plan to strike out on their own and become musicians in the nearby town of Bremen, Germany. They are drawn by the lure of the big city and are eager to regain their self-respect, but on their way they come upon a band of robbers in a den with pilfered loot. With the help of their ear-splitting cacophony, the four animals disband the thieves and win their stash of riches, and when one of the robbers comes back for it, the animals scare them off for good. The ragtag band of animals, more humane and good than any of the humans, triumph over the robbers, the real beasts in the story, with their teamwork. The Grimms reportedly heard the tale from Dorothy Venman in their hometown of Kassel. An innkeeper's daughter, Venman was a key oral source of a number of their tales, and the Grimms featured her portrait at the beginning of their collection to promote its folk origins. Once there was a donkey who for many years had faithfully carried his master's sacks of grain to the mill. But now his strength was fading and he was less and less fit for work, so his master began to think about getting him out of the way. But the donkey got wind of the trouble ahead and took off for the town of Bremen. There, he thought, he'd have a chance of becoming a town musician. After he had been on his way for a while, he came across a hunting dog who was worn out in the middle of the road and panting as if he'd run a mile too many. "Hey, why are you panting so hard, old weaser?" the donkey asked. "Oh, me?" said the dog. "It's because I'm old and getting weaker by the day, and since I can no longer hunt, my master was planning to do me in, so I skedaddled. But how on earth can I earn my daily bread now?" "You know what?" said the donkey. "I'm on my way to Bremen to become a town musician. Come along and make some music with me. I'll play the lute and you can beat the drums." The dog liked the idea and they walked on together. It wasn't long before they saw a cat sitting by the side of the road. She had a look on her face like a month of rainy Sundays. "Hey, what's rubbed you the wrong way, Whisker Washer?" asked the donkey.
"How could I be amused when I've had it up to here?" replied the cat, rubbing her neck with her paw. "Now that I'm getting old, my teeth aren't sharp anymore, and I prefer sitting behind the warm stove and dreaming up schemes to actually chasing mice. And guess what? My mistress even tried to drown me. Thankfully, I managed to run away. Advice doesn't come cheap, but still I ask, where on earth do I go now?"
"Come with us to Bremen," said the donkey. "You can make a little night music, can't you? You could become a town musician with us." The cat thought this sounded like a good idea and went along. Soon enough, the three refugees came upon a farm where a rooster was sitting on the gate crowing his lungs out. "Your scream is getting under my skin right into my bones," the donkey exclaimed. "What in the world are you up to?"
"All I was doing was predicting good weather," said the rooster. "Since it's the day our good lady washes the baby Jesus' swaddling clothes and hangs them out to dry. But tomorrow guests are coming for Sunday lunch and the mistress has no mercy. She told the cook she wants me in the soup and that she should chop off my head tonight. So now I'm screaming for all it's worth for as long as I still can."
"You know what, Redhead?" said the donkey. "Why don't you come with us? We're off to Bremen. You're sure to find something better than death no matter where you go. But if you have a good voice, and I bet if we make music together, it will be very memorable." The rooster liked the suggestion, and the wayfarers, now 4, went on together. But they couldn't reach Bremen in just one day. And so, when evening came, they slipped into the woods where they planned on spending the night. The donkey and the dog stretched out under a big tree while the cat and the rooster scrambled up into the branches. And the rooster flew up to the very top, the safest spot for him. Before the rooster fell asleep, he looked out in all 4 directions one last time. He thought he saw a little sparkle of light in the distance, and he called down to the others to tell them there must be a house not far off where a light was burning. "Let's get up and go there, since our lodgings here are pretty poor," the donkey suggested. The dog said he could imagine he'd be better off too, finding some bones and a little gristle. And so they set out again toward the light, which shined bigger and brighter as they drew nearer, until at last they stood in front of a brightly lit robber's den. Since the donkey was the tallest, he went up to the window and looked inside.
"What do you see, flea-bitten gray?" asked the rooster.
"What do I see?" replied the donkey. "A table decked out with food and drink and hairy bandits seating around it having a grand old time."
"Oh, that'd be something for us," mused the rooster.
Oh, yes, added the donkey, "if only we were inside." So the animals debated how they might drive the robbers out, and at last settled on an idea. The donkey propped his forelegs on the windowsill, the dog leapt up onto the donkey's back, the cat clawed her way up to the dog, and finally the rooster flew up to the tippy top and sat on the cat's head. Once they had built their pyramid, they gave a signal and began their music. The donkey hee-hawed, the dog bellowed, the cat meowed, and the rooster crowed. Then, all at once, they crashed through the windows into the robbers' den, shattering the window panes. The robbers jumped up in wild alarm at the cacophony, convinced that a ghost was upon them, and in their terror they fled headlong into the woods. The four friends sat down at the table and helped themselves eagerly to the remains of the meal, eating as if 4 weeks of starvation lay ahead of them. Once our troubadours were full, they blew out the candles and found themselves comfortable places to sleep, each according to his or her needs. The donkey lay down outside in the straw, the dog went behind the door, the cat sought the stove and snuggled herself up near the warm ashes, and the rooster took to the beams above. And since they were tired from their long journey, they all soon fell asleep. After midnight, the robbers could see from afar that no lights were burning in the house. Their leader growled, "We shouldn't have been browbeaten so easily," and sent one of his men back to the house to inspect it. The robber found everything silent and still and went into the kitchen to light a candle. But he mistook the cat's firing eyes for glowing coals and held his match up to them to light it. This did not amuse the cat in the least, who leapt at the man's face, spitting and hissing and scratching at him. The man reeled back in shock and tried to escape through the back door, but instead he ran into the dog lying there, who leapt up and sunk his teeth into the man's leg. And as the robber fled through the courtyard past the straw, the donkey gave him a nasty kick with his hind legs, while the rooster, who had also been awakened by the noise, let out an ear-splitting shriek from the rafters. "Cock-a-doodle-doo!" The robber hobbled as best he could back to his leader and said, "Oh, there's a terrible witch in that house who spewed her poison over me and scratched my face with her long fingernails. And then there was a man in the front of the door who stabbed me in the leg with his knife. And in the courtyard there was a black monster who clubbed me with his wooden cudgel. And up on the roof there sat a judge who shouted, 'Bring me that rascal!' I got out of there as fast as I possibly could." From then on, the robbers dared not go near the house. The four Bremen town musicians, however, had such a marvelous old time that they decided never to leave. And somewhere out there, without fail, there's another tongue still warm from telling this same tale. The end. That's it for today's episode of Storytime with Jenn. We will see you tomorrow.